Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of INDSA Podcast. Here on INDSA Podcast, we strive to inspire everyone to choose the food that brings the good, as well as to dive into the nutrition and dietetics community to know more about it. And I'm Huey Shin, so here with me today is Shaine.
Hello.
Okay, thanks for accepting the invitation, and it's our pleasure to have you here today. And thank you for taking your time to have this section, sharing your experience with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
So some background information about Shaine. She graduated last year with a degree in nutrition and dietetics. Is currently working as a clinical dietitian.
Yes.
Okay, so before we start our topic today, let's do an ice-breaking question.
Sure.
So let the audience get to know you better. Okay, so now you're currently working full-time, so which means like you no longer have semester break.
I know, it's so sad.
This kind of holidays.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're given a week off now and you had 1 million in hand, so what would you do?
Okay, my boring answer will be sleep.
Oh yeah, 1 week you sleep.
Sleep, okay, because like I think once you start working, you really miss having very good sleep, long sleep, yeah. But I'll give you a more interesting answer, okay? Yeah, so if I had 1 week and then if I had $1 million, I think the smart thing to do is to invest the money, right? You want the 1 million to last longer, correct?
Yeah.
So then I'll probably take some money to go and invest, and then, probably go on a holiday, yeah. And then, maybe I always wanted to do something like interesting. So I think maybe just to give back to the community, maybe in different ways. So maybe can have a soup kitchen. Yeah, either that or I quite like animals as well. Yeah, so maybe can have an animal shelter, something like that. Yeah. So that's something I guess I always had at the back of my mind. Yeah.
Okay, so it's very interesting to know your answer. I think we might have a week off, but not 1 million.
Yeah, true.
if we got this 1 million, we can make this all to come true.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so something interesting about Shaine. She and her friend Song Qing are doing a nutrition education social media platform and podcast called Nutrinomz, right? Okay, so would you like to tell us more about this channel?
Yeah, sure. So, me and my friend Song Qing, I think when we were, I guess still in our 3rd year or moving to 4th year. Yeah, I think we were moving to our final year. The both of us were kind of let's do something different. Yeah, so I think because we wanted to do something beyond just university stuff, right? Like assignments, classes. We wanted to do something that allow us to, I guess, explore different skill sets, explore different topics that we don't really learn through lectures. Because nutrition trends are always ongoing, right? There's always something new that's coming up. Yeah, so then that's how we were hey, we have some time to spare, and then it's something that we always wanted to do. So then we just decided to start Nutrinomz.
So is that during your sem break, or you just spontaneously, why don't we just start this channel together?
Yeah, okay, so I think it was sem break. So how it started off is at first I was the one that that started it first, and then I actually posted on my own personal Instagram that I started this thing. And then honestly, right, I was hoping to find someone that could join me, but I never said anything. But then Song Qing, she actually dropped me a DM. And she's like, hey, I see that you're trying to do this thing with Nutrinomz, and I've actually wanted to start something as well. And then she was like, do you think it's okay if I kind of join you? Yeah, and then I was like, honestly, this is a wish come true, because I was like, yes. And to be honest, right, I hardly spoke to Song Qing before that, even though we were classmates, right? I barely knew her. And then I was like, okay lah, I kind of see her before in class. I think she's quite nice. So I'm like, okay lah, I just do it lah, make a new friend also. And then I think that's where our friendship began. And then I think that friendship also led to a lot more things, like especially in like my final year. So I take it as like a blessing in disguise, and that's how Nutrinomz kind of continued. So we kind of contributed like our different ideas together, and we sort of like worked together, and that's how it happened.
He's like, I think it's been almost 2 years, right? Since you started Nutrinomz. So what's the most rewarding part for you doing this?
The most rewarding part, maybe I speak for myself. I think what I find the most rewarding is especially through like the podcast that I try to start with Songqing. So from those podcasts, actually I find that the most rewarding because I get to have conversations with like different people. And I feel that conversations are honestly a very great way to learn so much more. And I feel that through like just knowing a little bit more about like why the dietitians out there who are already working for quite some time already, like why they chose to do this, and why they chose to take those risks in their career, and like what their plans are. It's actually quite eye-opening actually. I think for someone, especially at the time I was still studying, I guess like I wasn't very clear with like what's out there and like what I need to do to like get to what I want. And then so like gaining insight from like people who have gone through seniors, and then like people who've walked already like the path, I guess makes it very not easy, but like it gives you a bit of clarity. And then it makes the whole thinking process a bit more quicker as well. So I find that the most rewarding.
Okay, so a personal question from me. You started this around year 3. You mentioned just now, right?
I think year 3 or 4. I just cannot remember.
So while you're still a full-time student, okay. So how did you juggle between your hobbies, like doing fun things you like, and still able to study well at the same time? Like, share some tips. Like, how did you manage it?
Okay, so I think I was really lucky I have Songqing, because I think without a friend, honestly, I think it would have been much tougher and a lot more self-discipline to continue. So I think the both of us, what we did is that when it came to like Nutrinomz, we tried to really plan ahead. So we kind of came up with like a content schedule, and then we had like a roster of like, we take turns lah. And then in terms of like studies and balancing like Nutrinomz, I think for me personally, I just I really put a lot of emphasis on time management. Because I think with a lot of things going on, it was kind of important to see like the overall month, for example, like what can I slot, when do I need to do things. And then I think it's really great lah for IMU when you first start.
Workload sheet.
Yes, the workload sheet. That's actually really good. So you already know like when your deadlines will be, when your exams will be. So then it's very clear, you can plan around it. So I think that's kind of what I did lah. I was kind of like someone who always had a planner with me. I'm that kind of nerd lah. So I have a book, and then like it will write like all the days. So then I'll just like write and plan. So that was what I did lah. But I have to admit, like when it came to final year, of course it was much more challenging, because in final year the learning curve was so steep. So then like Songqing and I think we kind of came to an agreement lah, that sometimes you need to know like what to prioritize at the time. And so at the time also Nutrinomz kind of took a break, and then we focused on our final year.
Agree. Like time management, always the one that people keep emphasizing on. But I think over time, process like we progress to our further semester, the more stress and commitment we have, actually we tend to know how to arrange everything, our time better, then we can make our uni experience the best out of it. So time management is always important.
Correct.
Okay, so now let's dive into our topic today. So first question, why did you choose the clinical field as your career now?
Okay, so I think the main reason why I chose to become a clinical dietitian is because I really enjoy the interactions that I have with patients. Yeah, so like even during our time in like Hospital Tunku Jaffa, which was where my batch had our clinical placement like fully. Yeah, I think what I really enjoyed the most was engaging with the patients, understanding like where they're coming from, understanding like why they eat a certain way, and then I guess having those conversations with them also to kind of guide them to make those changes into their diet was something that I find it quite rewarding and satisfying personally. Yeah, so to be honest, so I was quite open to like community dietetics because I think it's like a growing area, right, in dietetics, and then also open to clinical. Yeah, so at the time when I was like graduating, when I looked around, I just applied, and then after that I was kind of offered like a clinical dietitian role. So I was like, okay, you know what, let me just try. Yeah, so then I just try, and so far I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
Okay, so I know that in our final year, we will be doing a clinical placement. So may I know like how long the period is for our clinical placement?
Okay.
How long? Yeah.
How long it is? Okay, so I think, I'm not sure whether it's the same for you guys and for us, because for my batch, we kind of had it during the pandemic, like when things were slowly starting to open up. Yeah, for me, I think it was about 3 to 4 months like that. Yeah, so that was how long it was. Yeah.
Are we being assigned or we need to find ourselves?
Okay. So I think it'll be very different as well for you guys.
Okay.
But for us, we all went to one hospital. Yeah, and then for our clinical placement, we had it in one stretch. Yes, but usually, I think pre-pandemic days, and I think even for your one batch senior, the ones who are currently having their hospital placement, I think their clinical practicum is actually split into 2. Yes, and then for the first practicum, they would go to Seremban, which is Hospital Tunku Jaffa.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think they would get to select. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, to different hospitals around Malaysia.
Okay, so could you share with us like more about what you did during your clinical placement?
Okay, can. Yeah, so in our clinical placement, a lot of things happen. Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot
first
of things,
time.
Yes, a lot of things happen. But if I had to break it down, I think maybe I'll just share for us what happened, because we had the special cases. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we did it like kind of half. Yeah. So for us, we actually took turns going to the hospital.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah, because there was like 50 of us. We all can't go to the hospital at the same day because of like the SOPs at the time. Yeah, so half of the class would go to the hospital. The other half of the class would be having online sessions.
Online sessions?
Yes, online sessions.
Okay.
Yeah, so we go to the hospital alternate days.
So online session is like what?
Okay. So maybe I'll explain the online session, what we did online session.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So for the online session, we will usually have something like case discussions.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. So our lecturers, our CIs, the clinical investigators, they actually prepare like a case. The case is actually sometimes a real case that they actually got from like the hospital, or the cases that they encountered. So they will present that case to us, and then in our groups we would actually discuss. Yeah, so we will discuss, like for example, we will go through the assessments, and then we will discuss like what we think is the suitable nutrition diagnosis, and then after that we will all brainstorm or maybe share our own point of view, like what is the intervention, like when it comes to education, when it comes to counselling that we want to do. Yeah, so aside from this, there's also opportunities for us to like role play with each other. Yeah, so for example, maybe one of us will pretend to be like the patient, and then another one be the dietitian. Yeah, and then at the same time we will have like a CI who will be overseeing the entire session, and then at the end they'll give us feedback, and sometimes we also give peer-to-peer feedback.
Okay, it's like something similar to what we did for semester 5, if I'm not wrong, the counselling module.
Yes,
role
correct.
play, the one.
Yes, the role play. Yeah, so that's like the online part. Yeah. Then for the physical part, basically for clinical placement, there's like two areas to it lah. So the first one will be inpatient, and then the second one will be outpatient. Yeah. So but the biggest chunk will be inpatient.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we'll be like going into the ward, seeing the patients who are warded. Yeah. So usually it's like tube feeding cases, sometimes counselling cases as well. Yeah. And then for outpatient, most of the time for me, I saw counselling cases. Yeah.
Okay, so is this all something you expected before you starting your practicum?
Expected? I think, to be honest, right, I don't know what to expect at the time. I just heard from my seniors like it's going to be a very steep learning curve. Yeah, and then just be ready to like face anything. Yeah, I think at the time I kind of knew that there were going to be these areas. So that means it's going to be the online, there's going to be like inpatient, outpatient. Yeah, but then I think I didn't know what to expect to a certain extent because I also don't know what's going on in there.
Yeah, because you guys are the first batch having this kind of online and physical, right?
We're the second batch. Yeah.
So
our
you're the
seniors,
second batch.
Yeah, my seniors also, they had something like this. Yeah.
Okay.
So we were kind of like listening to what they were doing, and then we were like, okay, how does the online thing work? It was something very like even when I tell you guys now, so you guys like, what do you do online? For clinical placement. Yeah.
But for online one still got assessment, right? Both physical and online got assessment.
Okay, so for the assessments, mostly like if we're talking about the continuous assessment, it's both also kind of have. Yeah, but then when it came to like the one that holds the biggest weightage, the one that affects your grades, then that would be like case write-up and case presentations. So for these two, it's based on the cases that you've seen when you went to the hospital.
Physical.
Yeah, so the real cases, you actually have to present it or you have to have a write-up for it. Yeah. So for us, that one, everything was kind of virtual lah, because we didn't get the opportunity to like have face-to-face presentations, so all of that was online.
Okay. Then what was the most valuable experience or lesson you gained during your clinical practicum?
Okay, so I guess like valuable lesson and valuable experience. I think in terms of valuable experience, I think it's meeting with different patients of different like socioeconomic backgrounds, different diseases, and then having to, I guess, really tailor nutrition intervention to really suit them. Yeah, I think because like when we were in our third year, like now you learn MNT and all that, right? It's very textbook. Yeah, so you sometimes the recommendations that we think we can give may not be suitable for the patient because like maybe different culture, maybe different socioeconomic status, maybe different preference. Yeah, so learning about how every patient is different, and then also I guess each experience kind of adds up into my little jar of like knowledge, for example. Yeah, and then I kind of take it with me even until now when I practice. Like I see how those moments where I got to understand people a little bit more adds value into what I'm doing right now. Yeah, and also in terms of lesson, I think it's to always be open to feedback. Yeah, because I think and also to understand that you, like, I guess like I won't always know everything. Yeah, because there's always new information out there. There's always a different way to do a certain thing. Like everyone has their own style of managing a case. So I think that's what I really learned during my final year. Yeah, because I think, for example, when we discuss cases with friends, we can see that everyone has kind of like a different approach to it. There's no really right or wrong. Yeah, but it's just like a lot of justification, a lot of analytics. Yeah, and then also not only hearing from friends, hearing from like the clinical investigators, the CIs, learning from the dietitians over there. Yeah, and then like when you get to know like a little bit of why everyone thinks that way, how did they come to that conclusion? I guess like for me also, I slowly learn how to develop my own thinking also. Yeah.
Okay, like so in general, right, for practicum, what kind of skills and knowledge are important to brush up on or to prepare before we enter our final year?
Okay, yeah, I think this one is like the common question, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's so nervous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's so nervous. Even I also was kind of nervous.
Don't know what to expect.
Yes. Yeah, don't worry. I asked my seniors the same question as well when, like, before my like, I think a few months before I entered final year. So I was like, hi, can you let me know like what I need to know, you know, like.
No time, no contact. Contact just was.
Yes, just ask them like, can you please let me know what to do? Yeah. Okay. So I think I think if you have time, you know, in terms of maybe like knowledge, you can, I guess, brush up on MNT, and then and also like pathophysiology. Yeah.
Oh, patho. Okay, patho is important now. Okay.
Yeah, patho, because actually, right, I also thought patho not important until I went there, and then I realized it's very hard if you don't know how the pathophysiology works. It's very hard for you to explain to the patient.
Explain, okay.
Yes, and very hard for you to understand why certain medications are prescribed, why your dietetics care is to focusing on this. How does it affect the body? Like for example, maybe like you have a patient with diabetes, right? How do you explain to them why you need to restrict carbohydrate?
Oh,
okay. Yeah, it's very easy to tell them, okay lah, this food, carbohydrate.
Don't eat this,
you don't eat this, you don't eat this. But then they'll be like, why?
Yes, why?
Why I can eat protein? Why I can eat vegetables?
But not carbs.
Yeah, but not carbs. Yeah, so something like this. Yeah, so actually like explaining the like what's happening in the body sometimes gives patients a bit of clarity as to like, oh, so this is why, and then they can have a better understanding as to what's going on in their body and why they need to make these changes. Yeah, so I know pathophysiology is quite a tricky subject. I have to admit it's tricky. Yeah, but you know, just revise lah. But along the way, actually, you will see a lot more diseases that you don't see in your pathophysiology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so then you can just, at the time you can just search up, read up. Yeah, so like, actually a lot of things you learn when you're in placement actually. So for MNT also, to be honest, I also did revision before, but then when I was in there, I also forgot of things.
Okay.
Yeah, so, it's always constant revision, and then I think when you're in your clinical placement, your CIs will also encourage you guys to find resources outside. So like international guidelines, local guidelines, and then you have to refer that. You always have to find the latest information. Yeah, so don't worry about it. I think, for now, just with what you have, if you can familiarize with that, it's great. Yeah, when you enter it, I think you have a better understanding of what you kind of need to cover.
Like maybe during the sem break before studying the practicum, then we just revise those.
Yes, revise. Or if you want to, if you want to really know more, then you can go and search up also lah. Yeah, so like international guidelines for certain diseases, for example, local guidelines like clinical practice guidelines, along with the MNT lah. So they go hand in hand.
Okay, so this is about the knowledge. How about the skills?
Okay, for skills, I think now you're in third year, right? Yeah. So like counseling is definitely a skill to practice. Yeah, I think other than that also like education, nutrition education. Yeah. So practicing with your friends, like using all your household measurement tools, for example, learning how to get like diet recall. I know some of my friends, they take their own diet recall. They calculate how many calories, how many carbs, how much protein they're taking in the day. Yeah, so and then like estimating carbohydrates, estimating protein. Yeah, so this is something that you can kind of practice during your free time. So I know my friends, we all practice on each other. Sometimes we practice on our family members also.
Yeah, you wonder like why you do this to me.
Yes, yeah.
Why ask like so detailed?
Yes.
Like okay, spoon, teaspoon, tablespoon.
Yes, yeah, very detailed. Correct. Yeah, and then I think maybe one thing extra is also, I think we're not very used to writing and asking on the spot,
Yeah, you need to take note then still listen like that.
Correct.
Okay, I never thought of that, okay.
Yeah, correct. Because I think when we all first started, right, we are so engrossed with writing that like there's a very awkward silence and then the patient is like looking. Yeah. So you have to practice like asking question and then listening and writing and then calculating. Yeah. So you can practice slowly this one.
Also, it's like we do it on the spot, like everything. We ask, then we need to calculate and then tell them.
Yes.
Oh,
So this is very common involvement in clinical placement.
Oh, okay. So you're now working as a clinical dietitian.
Yes.
Could you walk us through like how's your work life in a day?
I see. Okay, so it might differ like slightly for different clinical dietitians. Yeah, but then for me, I'm kind of involved in like the typical clinical responsibilities, and also actually F&B. Yeah.
What does it mean, like typical?
Okay, the typical clinical responsibilities. That means like seeing the inpatients, seeing the outpatients. Okay, and then on top of that is also F&B, so managing or overseeing like the F&B tasks. So for example, like checking whether the orders from different patients, for example, if a patient has diabetes, did they order a diabetic diet, for example? Okay, and then also monitoring like whether the kitchen, like whether they are preparing the correct therapeutic diets for the therapeutic menus. Yes. Yeah, so those are just some of the main things lah. Yeah, so other than that, sometimes we are also required to like maybe give trainings to like F&B staff or nurses. Yeah, and also like maybe give talks depending on the need. Yeah, whether it's to public or like corporate clients and etc.
Oh, okay. So actually, kind of like everything you need to do. It's
Yes.
not. It's saying that you're not only clinical dietitian, but somehow you're doing community things as well because you give talk.
Yes.
Then you in food service also because you need to train like the
Yes.
staff.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So it's different from the practicum, right? Because the practicum is very clear, like you're community, you're clinical, or you're food service.
Yes, correct. Yeah, because like for practicum, they already segment it for you, right?
Yeah.
But then usually for clinical roles, you would cover a lot of things. Yeah, but depends. Some hospitals like maybe the dietitians, the clinical dietitians only focus on the clinical aspect, and then they will also have an F&B dietitian.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's different. But for
Yes.
yours, it's like the
It's merged
you need to
together.
help.
Yeah, so it depends on the different hospitals.
Okay. So I will enjoy like what you're doing now.
Yeah, actually, I do enjoy it. Yeah, so like what I mentioned to you like just now, it's the talking to patients part that I really enjoy. Yeah, and then also like understanding them a bit more, and then I kind of like having conversations with them, and then kind of like navigating them to make some kind of changes to their diet. Yeah, so that's probably the part I enjoy the most actually. Yeah.
Like talking to people, you
Yes.
have conversation. Okay. So if you are comfortable to share, how do you see yourself in 3 years' time? Like in terms of any things, your goal to yourself, like on Nutrinomz, like yeah.
Okay. So in terms of goals, to be honest, like I don't really know as well. Yeah, because I think at this moment, what I know that I want to do is to just go for whatever opportunity that I can get. Yeah, because I think there's a lot of options if I'm talking about like 5 years time
Yeah,
and stuff. Yeah, because like I am still kind of not sure like whether I want to further studies, for example, go into academia, or whether I want to continue in clinical and perhaps maybe specialize in like a specific disease, or whether explore a different route like community dietetics, food service, or even totally like maybe entrepreneurship, maybe taking Nutrinomz to the next level. Yeah, so in 3 years time, if I make it less of a big extravagant goal, I think my only goal for myself is to I guess be more confident in like my management in terms of like or like my nutrition expertise to at least grow from where I am today. Yeah, and then maybe down the line, if I see something that ignites my passion, then I'll go for it. Yeah, but now I think because like I just graduated.
Yeah.
I think I'm still in a phase where I'm exploring. Yeah, so currently no specific goal.
Yeah. Okay, like, all the best and excited for your future.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so here comes to the end of this episode. So, and once again, we are very grateful to have Shaine here, to have this very meaningful sharing, and all this have been very helpful and informative to every year 3 student, we're going to have this placement, final year next year, and actually it's this year, not next year, because it's like next semester.
Correct. So when will that be?
I think around May or June.
Yeah, that's quite soon, right?
So like this briefing, our lecturers start to we will let you know about the practicum things already briefing.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, so through this section, and we know what kind of thing we need to prepare, and I think we have mental preparation for that as well.
Preparation is very important. Correct.
Okay, so before signing off, would you like to give a piece of advice, especially to those nutrition dietetics students who are listening to this?
Okay, Ken, I think one piece of advice that I can think of at the top of my head is, I think, to just be open to like whatever that's about to come. Yeah, and I think to always remember to take things one step at a time. Yeah, because I think that especially final year, it's a very huge change compared to like the
first 3 years.
Yeah, the first 3, and it's gonna be overwhelming. Yeah, but I think give yourself a chance to I guess not be an expert at the first go. Yeah. So, even if you feel that, how come I don't know this? How come I feel like I don't know enough? Like, just remind yourself that everyone starts from somewhere. Yeah. Okay. Like we are students. So as a student, if you need to make mistakes, now is the time you make mistakes. Yeah. So don't put too much pressure on yourself, because I think that's what a lot of me and my friends experience as well. We put so much pressure on ourselves, but we forget to also enjoy the experience at the same time. It's your final year. It's a time where you really get to try and explore whatever you want to do. So take it one step at a time. Yeah, and then remind yourself that even if you as long as you grow every day 1%, by the end of the clinical placement, like how many percent like you've already grown by then. Yeah. So be prepare whatever you can. Yeah, and then set good expectations. And then just be open to whatever's coming.
Okay, so if you're interested to know more about the bite-sized nutrition information from our speaker Shaine, do follow their social media page, Nutrinomz, Nutrinomz, to know more about their podcast and stay updated. Also, do subscribe and follow our podcast and Instagram INDSA to know more about us. Thank you for tuning in, and see you again next time. Bye!